She was just seconds away from destroying everything. After years of hard work, no sleep, and working her way up from a basement in Colorado to the most important building in the country, Dana Perino walked in her boss's office, ready to quit her job. She had practiced exactly what she would say. She had already accepted that she was giving up, that her boss spoke first. What he said next changed her whole life forever and showed her a truth about success that most people never get. And it's not like anything you've heard before. It was 2007 and Dana Perino was completely worn out. She had been working super long hours at the White House as deputy press secretary. The stress was killing her inside. She wasn't sleeping well. She wasn't eating right. Every single day felt like a fight she was losing. So she decided she was going to walk into Ed Gillespie's office. He was the director of communications, and quit. She had practiced her words. She was okay with leaving behind everything she had worked so hard for. She went up to Ed after a meeting and said, "Can I see you after the communications meeting?" Ed nodded and said, "Yes, I need to talk to you too." When they sat down, Dana was all set to give her resignation, but Ed talked first. "The president would like to announce you as press secretary on Friday." Dana just sat there totally shocked. The job she had dreamed about since she was a little kid. The job she thought she could never get. It was being given to her right when she was about to give up on everything. Ed Gillespie didn't find out until years later, when he read her book, that Dana had come to quit. She never told him. She took the job, walked out his office, and started getting ready for the biggest challenge of her life. But before Dana Perino ever got to Washington, she had to go through years of people saying no, failing, and one really painful PH. One call that made her think her dreams were finished forever. Dana Marie Perino was born on May 9, 1972 in Evanston, Wyoming. Her family moved to Denver when she was little, and she grew up in Parker, Colorado. But every summer she went back to her grandparents' cattle ranch in Wyoming, where she collected eggs, opened gates for the cows, and looked for dinosaur bones. Those summers taught her how to work hard and depend on herself before she even knew what those things meant. Her dad, Leo, owned a little store, but he was crazy about politics. Starting in third grade, Dana and her sister had to read 2 newspapers every day and talk about the stories before dinner. While other kids watched cartoons, Dana hurried home from early church to watch political talk shows. Her mom, Jan, worked in marketing, but she also helped bring refugees who were escaping the Soviet Union to start new lives through Lutheran family services. Seeing those families leave communism and begin again showed Dana why America was a safe place for people who wanted freedom. When she was 7 years old, Dana visited the White House during the Carter administration. On the flight home, watching July 4th fireworks over the Washington Monument, she fell in love with the capital city. Her Italian family background shaped her a lot. Her great-grandparents came from Italy, and her grandfather, Leo Ernest Perino, taught her about the American dream through his own family story. Dana got her bachelor's degree in mass communications from Colorado State University in 1994. Then she earned a master's degree in public affairs reporting from the University of Illinois Springfield. She covered the state capitol for a CBS station called WCIA. She was really good at it. She thought she knew exactly where her life was going. Then she moved to Washington, D.C., and real life hit her hard. Her first job, there was answering phones as a staff assistant for Congressman Scott McInnes from Colorado. She was pretty much a secretary. The White House press podium felt a million miles away. She worked her way up to become press secretary for Congressman Dan Schaefer. She did that for almost 4 years. Then in 1998, Schaefer said he was retiring. Dana had no job, no plan, no clue what to do next. She hung up the phone and cried, but sometimes the worst moments open the door to the best chances. She moved to England with her new husband. Then they went to San Diego. She was far from Washington and far from politics. It looked like her government career was done. But something else was waiting for her on a flight from Denver to Chicago, and it came in the form of a British accent, an empty seat next to her, and a love story that seemed totally impossible. The way Dana met her husband sounds like a movie scene. On August 17th, 1997, both Dana and a British guy named Peter McMahon were late for a flight from Denver to Chicago. They were the last 2 people to get on the plane. By pure luck, They got seats right next to each other, seat 13A and seat 13C. Peter was walking behind Dana down the jetway. He later said he saw this cute little blonde with her ponytail swinging and hoped he would sit next to her. When Dana saw him, she quickly thought, "Oh, he's cute. He's not wearing a wedding ring, and he has a British accent." They talked nonstop for 2.5 hours. The chat was so easy that the flight felt super short. When they landed, Dana gave him her card with all her contact info. Then she waited. 10 long, painful days went by with no word from Peter. Dana couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't even read. She was full of worry. Then finally his email came, but the problems looked impossible to fix. Dana was 25 years old. Peter was 43. There was an 18-year age difference. He had been married twice before. He had 2 kids from earlier relationships, and he lived in England. Dana remembers looking out the window and praying. She said, "Okay, Lord, I know I asked you to help me find somebody, but he lives in England and he's 18 years older than me, and he's been married twice before. Did I mention he lives in England?" She was so scared to tell her parents. She was almost frozen with fear about what they would say, but her dad surprised her. He said an older man was exactly what she needed because she was always rushing through life. Less than a year after they met, Peter proposed suddenly outside the Washington Cathedral. Dana made him wait exactly 1 year from their first meeting to say yes. She wrote him a letter explaining how she felt. At the very end, she wrote, "Yes, I will marry you." They got married in September 1998 in a small private ceremony in England. On their 20th anniversary in 2018, Dana wrote about what 20 years of marriage feels like. She said, "It feels like forever and no time at all. The best decision I ever made, and sometimes the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most rewarding." She said, "It still feels improbable." And she asked, what if I had missed the plane or was assigned to a different seat? Dana and Peter built a quiet life in San Diego. She was running a small PR company. He was working in business. They were happy. And then one morning in September 2001, everything they knew about the world got destroyed in just minutes. Then on September 11th, 2001, everything changed. 2 days after the attacks, Dana called her friend Mindy Tucker, who worked at the Justice Department. By November 2001, Dana had a job as a spokesperson for the DOJ. She was back in the world of politics. But here's the secret to how she moved up so fast. She took the jobs and assignments that nobody else wanted. And other people avoided environmental topics because they were boring and hard. Dana said yes to them. She became really good at something others ignored. That got the attention of Andy Card, who was the White House chief of staff. In 2002, he brought her to the Council on Environmental Quality. From there, she moved up to deputy press secretary. She was getting closer to the podium, but she wasn't there yet. The big chance came wrapped in sadness. Tony Snow was the White House press secretary, and he was amazing at the job, but he had colon cancer. In 2007, his health made him resign. On his last day, Tony Snow stood behind Dana. He was 6 feet 5 inches tall. She was only 5 feet. He put his hands on her shoulders and said words she has never forgotten. "You are better at this than you think you are." On September 14th, 2007, Dana Perino became the 26th White House press secretary. She was the first Republican woman to ever have that job. Tony Snow died on July 12th, 2008. Dana wrote that the work after that took over her whole life, and it wasn't until after the funeral that she really had time to cry. Dana did 155 press briefings while she was White House press secretary. She served from September 2007 until the last day of the Bush administration on January 20th, 2009. From the outside, she looked calm and together, but behind the scenes, it was very different. She developed what she calls an almost telepathic connection with President George W. Bush. He supported her strongly. He made sure everyone knew her calls got returned first. Barbara Bush once said that loyalty goes both ways, and Dana still gets tears when she tells that story. But the job had pressures that would break most people. Dana has admitted something surprising about how she dealt with tough reporters. There were times when some reporters would act all showy, trying to look important, and sometimes just under the podium, while holding her glass of water, she would quietly flip them off. Nobody could see it. She was smiling for the cameras while secretly letting out her frustration below the podium. The most crazy moment happened on December 14th, 2008. President Bush was on his goodbye trip to Baghdad. Dana was there with him. During a press conference, an Iraqi journalist named Muntadhar al-Zaidi stood up and threw both of his shoes at the president. He yelled, "This is a farewell kiss from the Iraqi people." Bush ducked the shoes really fast. But in the mess, a Secret Service agent knocked over a microphone stand. The metal arm swung around and hit Dana right under her right eye. She saw stars like in a cartoon. The hit gave her a black eye. President Bush found her afterward and put his arm around her. He asked, "What happened?" "I saw you crying, but I thought it was just because the guy threw a shoe at me." Dana's answer showed exactly who she is. She told him, "Well, sir, I adore you, but I grew up in Wyoming, and I'm a little tougher than that." Weeks later, on January 20th, 2009, Dana's time at the White House ended. It was President Bush's last day, and it was her last day too. In the car to the airport, Dana leaned her head back against the seat and said something she still believes today. She said, "Nothing I ever do for the rest of my life will ever be that important or that hard." Then Dana Perino was about to face something way harder than politics. She was about to learn that the biggest pain in life has nothing to do with power or success. It comes from losing the people and pets you love the most. In spring 2012, Dana got a Hungarian Vizsla puppy named Jasper. This was 2 months after her first dog, Henry, had died at 14 years old. She could not know that Jasper would become one of the most famous dogs in America. Jasper showed up a lot on the 5. He became a star with his own fans. People called him America's dog. He had a special energy that went way beyond a normal pet. Dana even wrote a whole book about him. But on September 4th, 2021, at 12:40 in the afternoon, Jasper died. He was only 9 years old. Cancer had spread through his body very fast. Dana was heartbroken. 2 days later, at 3:08 in the morning, Dana woke up suddenly. Something felt wrong. She realized the house was too quiet. Even when Jasper was sleeping deeply, he had a big presence. Now that presence was gone. She went downstairs and could feel Jasper everywhere. She wrote that this was his house, and we were just living in it. She went to put his food bowl down like always, leaving him a little treat for when he woke up. Then she stopped herself before the bowl hit the floor. She put in the kitchen sink instead that a friend tried to comfort her by saying, "Jasper is probably still signing autographs in heaven." Another friend gave her words that made Dana cry. "Grief is the price we pay for love." Just weeks after Jasper died, a new puppy was born on September 22nd, 2021. His name is Percy. He is also a Vizsla. Peter picked the name after a World War I veteran he knew as a teenager when he worked in an English pub. The old soldier used to tell stories about how close the soldiers were. Dana wrote that they knew Jasper would want them to feel happy. She said their love for Jasper didn't end with Jasper. It grew bigger with Percy, but the loss left a mark that will never go away. The woman who talks to millions of people every day on TV still wakes up in the dark sometimes, remembering when the house was too quiet. In December 2024, something big happened in cable news. A show that doesn't even air in prime time became a most-watched program on all of cable TV. That show is called The 5, and the woman right in the middle of it is Dana Perino. The numbers are huge. The 5 got over 4 million viewers in the last quarter of 2024. No non-primetime show had ever done that before in cable news history. For a whole year, the show averaged 3.4 million viewers. And on July 15th, 2024, the day after the Trump assassination attempt, the show jumped to 5.5 million viewers in one episode. Dana also co-anchors another show called America's Newsroom with Bill Hemmer. That program averaged 1.7 million viewers all through 2024. Fox News got 72% of the total cable news audience after the election, and Dana Perino is right at the center of that success. But her influence goes way past the numbers. During the 2024 election, she moderated the second Republican presidential primary debate. When she asked the candidates to vote one of their opponents off like on a reality show, Ron DeSantis pushed back and said the question was disrespectful. Dana didn't back down. On election night 2024, she made news again. At 2 o'clock in the morning, she criticized Kamala Harris for not conceding right away. She said, "You should concede and let your opponent have their election night. Let them have their moment. I do not think it is right." The clip went viral super fast. Then in August 2025, she got into a public argument with California Governor Gavin Newsom. She said he was making a fool of himself with his social media posts that were making fun of Donald Trump. Newsom's office shot back by calling her Dana Ding Dong Perino. The back and forth showed that even after all these years, Dana Perino still gets everyone's attention and knows how to make moments people can't look away from. She also released a new book in April 2025 called I Wish Someone Had Told Me About Building a Great Career and a Meaningful Life. It became another New York Times bestseller. And in December 2025, she announced something surprising. Her first novel, a romantic comedy called Purple State, set in Wisconsin, coming out in April 2026. But here's something most people don't know. While she was ruling cable news, she quietly spent Thanksgiving 2025 in Sierra Leone, working on a hospital ship called the Global Mercy. She worked with doctors giving free surgeries to people who could never pay for them. She said they don't waste a single dollar, and she saw it with her own eyes. There's a question people ask Dana Perino that she has learned to answer calmly. Why don't you have children? In her memoir, And the Good News is she answered it straight. She wrote that over time, she realized she didn't want children. No big long story, no sorry, just a peaceful acceptance of a choice she made. Peter's kids from his earlier marriages made Dana a stepmom. His grandchildren call her Grandma America. She has family, but she chose not to have her own biological kids. She has talked about watching working moms with real amazement. She said managing a career and raising kids is something I'm quite in awe of. She said she looks at working moms and thinks she doesn't know how they do it. Instead of kids, Dana has built what she calls a different kind of legacy, one full of love, making a difference, and knowing herself. She helps young women. She writes books that reach millions. She puts the kind of love that might have gone to children into her dogs instead. Dana Perino took risks her whole life. She talked to a stranger on an airplane and married him. She took the boring jobs nobody wanted and ended up at the White House podium. She chose her career over having kids and built a different kind of legacy. That's the real Dana Perino. Not just the woman behind the podium or the face on TV, but someone who carries joy and sadness and love and loss all together. Someone who proves you can get to the top of your job and still be human enough to cry in the dark when nobody is watching. And she's still just getting started, so. What do you think about Dana Perino's incredible journey from a cattle ranch in Wyoming to the White House podium? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.